Welcome to this interview practice session, where today we'll take a look at some questions and model answers focused on the communication and negotiation competency. This competency falls under the RICS mandatory competencies and is applicable to all pathways, and the following questions and model answers are really designed to cover this area in detail to help candidates feel better prepared for their final assessment interview. So without further ado, let's go straight into the Q&A practice. And the first question we'll take a look at is a very high level question, and that is, can you please define what communication is? And to address this, we can simply say that this is the imparting or exchanging of information by either speaking, writing, or using some other medium. We may also be asked a question on our views on the form of email communication, and to address this, we can say that we always need to take great care when sending emails. It's very easy to release sensitive information to incorrect parties, and we need to take extra care to double check the recipients prior to issue. We can also say that even though emails appear to be less formal than written letters, they can still have the ability to create contracts and form written instructions. The next question we'll take a look at is another very high level question, checking our understanding of the term negotiation. And to address this, we can say that negotiations are discussions which are held to reach a compromise or agreement. Parties, through an informal or facilitated negotiation process, can agree to settle a dispute. Concessions and non-negotiable items of each party are discussed, and negotiations can be finalised either in line-by-line detail or at a high level. The next question we'll take a look at is, what would you do following a negotiation meeting where a verbal agreement was made? And to address this, we would need to say that we would look to formalise the verbal agreement as soon as possible. This would be achieved through issue of written correspondence setting out what was discussed and agreed at the meeting. Within the written communication, we would request that the other party confirm agreement by written reply, and if confirmation was not received, we would need to follow up with a verbal call reminding the other party that confirmation in writing is still required. The next question we'll take a look at is dependent on your own experience and views, and that is, in your view, what makes a successful negotiation? And some ideas that we could use to address this kind of question could be that we would ensure good preparation and discussion prior to the meeting with the client about the concessions and non-negotiable items. Good record keeping and presentation of written instructions, costed breakdowns that have been received and recorded during the project can also be presented. The meeting should be held in a calm environment where both parties are given the opportunity to speak without interruption. We could also utilise the use of regular comfort breaks and time to review discussions in private with the client, particularly in heated or more sensitive parts of the discussions. Following the agreements made within the meeting, we would need to formalise these in writing as soon as possible in order to avoid any confusion around what has been agreed.
We may also be asked a very high level or broad question on our thoughts on email communication, and to address this we can say that we're aware that an email has the same legal value as a letter and as a contract, because inadvertently contracts can be entered into by email. We must therefore be very careful to the content and form of email communication. These usually tend to be very relaxed and are perceived as informal. We must always communicate in a professional manner, even if other parties don't. And we must make sure that when we select the correct recipients, that this is sense checked and we do not show other people's email addresses without their consent. The next question asked is a level 2 question, asking when we have had to undertake a difficult negotiation. And to address this, we must be really sure to answer this in the past tense and reflect on our own experience. So this is obviously going to be specific to your own experience. However, some of the components that you could talk about is, first of all, how you prepared for the meeting or the negotiation, how you collated the supporting documentation and what this included. You could run through the scenario of when you met with the client team or the project team in order to agree any concessions or any non-negotiable items. You could then talk about the outcome of the meeting and what the parties did following this. The next question we'll take a look at again is a level 2 question requiring your own personal experience, and it's asking to give an example of when you've used your verbal communication skills. And to address this, again, this will be very specific to your own experience, but to provide an idea of how to address this, again, we must talk in the past tense. We could include examples such as where we've been responsible for providing any presentations to clients or project team members. We could also talk about any site meetings that have been held with the contractor to discuss various issues or presenting monthly reports within meetings. We could also say that we've used our verbal communication skills dealing day-to-day with issues over the phone. We'll now move on to the conflict avoidance, management and dispute resolution competency.